Hello everyone, it's Darkseeker here again. Welcome back for another video. Now, by the time you watch this, it'll probably be Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you for your support. Today, we are playing Dane's Big Rogue, featuring a new card from the Descent of Dragons expansion, Necrium Apothecary. It's a combo card. Draw a Death Rattle minion from your deck, gain its Death Rattle. Seems like a sensible card to include. Now, the objective of this deck is basically to cheat out big threats as early as possible onto the board. You can accomplish that with cards like Kobold Illusionist, Necrium Vial, Silver Vanguard, Necrium Blade. What you don't want is you do not want to be stuck with big threats like the Lich King, Rag, Katie in your hand and no way to get them down onto the board. So let's have a look at this deck in action on the Wild Mode ladder. And against a mage,
Welcome to this show.
playing the quest. So with Sylvanas down, if we kill off our Illusionist here, what do we get? We get another Sylvanas. I'm actually hoping for the Vanguard to be on the board, not a second Sylvanas. But he has to deal with both of them. He can't really play any big minions until both of the copies of Sylvanas are dealt with. So that may be helpful, although he is a spell-heavy deck. So that's what we have to watch out for. In terms of what we do here, we have 7 mana, we could play the Vanguard, but actually, I'm gonna play Malagos. It's a 2/8 body, and that's all. But also playing the Apothecary. And this way we get 2 bodies onto the board rather than just 1 from the Vanguard, and maybe it gives us a little bit of additional pressure. That's one way of looking at it. Okay, kills 1 Sylvanas.
So be it. So be it.
Push the damage face, and we just play the Vanguard. Now, obviously, this kind of a board helps to play around AoE. He will not want to Flame Strike a board like this, or clear a board like this, because the Vanguard could bring out something nasty that he can't deal with. Finally deals with both copies of Sylvanas. And that's now going to free him up to play big minions, if he's got any. But he's spell heavy here, wants to complete the quest. Alright, quest complete. And this now means he will get another turn, and we have to watch out for that. And we're at respectable health total here, but we could die quite quickly to burn. So, it was counterspell. Thank goodness we checked for it. How much damage do we have here? Let's see what we get. Oh, we get Rag.
Soldiers of the cold dark.
We can put him to 1 with the Eviscerate to the face and the dagger hit, and then Rag can pop the block. But actually, I want to kill the Vanguard, and I want to get something else on board.
No walls can hold me.
We still pop the block anyway. So the objective there was to create as commanding a board as possible. The only thing that wrecks us really is Frostnova Doomsayer, but then maybe the Vanguard can give us something else out of our deck if there's anything left. And Sneeds will give us something as well. So Frostnova Doomsayer does wreck him still as well. Maybe it would have been a smarter play to put him to 1, actually. Maybe that would have been better. Because even then, if he finds a way to actually freeze my board, or get rid of Rag and freeze the board, I could still dagger hit him in the face and win. But anyway, Time Warp. What does he do with Time Warp here? What can save him? It's 10 mana to play with here. And he has spell damage too. That's actually pretty scary. Thinking it over.
I wonder.
Which means he probably doesn't have lethal. Because he's thinking. So he's probably thinking about how to survive and how to live for another turn.
We're gonna be rich.
Oh, so he's actually a Reno deck. How interesting. How interesting. That changes a lot of things. So I was expecting that. I was expecting him to be some kind of burn mage. You know, completes the quest, takes 2 turns, bursts you down. Maybe Molten Giants. Something fancy. He's actually a Reno deck. Interesting. Huh. And he really does not like Kel'Thuzad. Fascinating. Okay.
Punch first.
So, do we see if there's anything else left in our deck here? What do we have? Oh, we have the Lich King. Forgot about him.
Justice is mine.
Now, he's pretty useful here. He could give us a little extra push for lethal, depending on what happens to our board on the next turns. He could give us a spell
Already attacked.
that could help with pushing a little bit of damage, if we need it. Although we have a Ragnaros that's hitting 8 every turn. Look at this board. This board is insane. Absolutely insane.
The fate of the world hangs in the balance.
Okay, Caligos. What can he get here? Magic trick, sure. He needed a Frost Nova there, at the very least. Okay, next game. Let's see if we can play this one a little bit better. There was a couple of missteps in that last game from me. Wasn't completely happy with some of my plays. So let's just see if we can do a bit better here. Going up against a rogue, and we have the Illusionist in hand. That makes me very, very happy. Because maybe we can use the Illusionist to cheat out the Vanguard. And interestingly enough, this is the mirror match. So he knows what to expect. I know what to expect.
Justice is
And it
mine.
is a Necrium Blade standoff here. Who's going to blink first? Who's going to cheat out something onto the board first? Fan of Knives, sure. I guess I just wait, because next time we have the Illusionist. Oh, he has Umbra. That's actually scary. That's really, really scary. We need to kill that. So we can prep, eviscerate, and instead of the Illusionist, I'm going to play the Apothecary here. Okay, sure, that's fine. That's actually fine.
Justice is mine.
Alright, so monsters behind you. What do we have in our hand? Double Illusionist and the Vanguard. It looks like we're going to be getting a board full of Illusionists or Vanguards at some point soon. Meanwhile, he has not been able to cheat anything out yet. This is good. Interesting. He's going to use the weapon up without triggering a death rattle.
Think.
How interesting. Or at the very least, he's thinking hard about it. Does that mean he's just got a hand chock full of big threats that he cannot cheat out onto the board? This is good for us. Oh, here's another one. Okay. Still good for us, though. And we have Necrium Vial. Wow.
No drop fail. Backstab.
Okay. What do we want to play the vial on? I guess we'll play it on the Apothecary.
Monsters behind you. Monsters behind
Okay, we get monsters behind you. Alright, so one of these Kobold Illusionists will hopefully bring out the Silver Vanguard. Meanwhile, he's doing nothing. And I guess, from that perspective, from his perspective, that is the drawback of this deck. You just have empty turns when nothing happens sometimes. And you just lose. Because you just cannot keep up with whatever pressure your opponent's putting on. Well, now he plays the Vanguard. Okay, so now this is his first real turn where something's happening. Gets Rag. Okay, it doesn't go face. That's the key thing. Okay. Ragnaros here for him is too little too late. Because that 8 damage, if it doesn't hit our face, it's not going to win in the game. We get rid of the Vanguard, because we don't want anything big coming out next turn. We can't kill him just yet. So we're going to hold on to the Eviscerate.
Justice is mine.
It'll be our little surprise if we need it. In the meantime, I have never had a board before with so many Illusionists. This is a pretty sweet board.
No walls can hold me.
Yeah, slow play. Unless he triggers it, he does. This needs to be something miraculous. Yeah. Okay, it's a taunt.
No walls can hold me.
Finally, we get a Silver Vanguard down. Now, what do we have here? Is this lethal in any way? Struggling to count.
Me. Punch first.
It's actually lethal.
No walls can hold me.
Yeah, it is lethal.
Justice is mine.
Well, at least we were able to cheat out one big threat, Sneeds, onto the board. That's something. Alright, so Dane's Big Rogue. Really fun deck to play if you've got the legendaries. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Big Priest, but a little bit fairer in some ways. Yeah, you've got to be conscious though of having 4, 5, 6 turns where you have nothing to do sometimes, and as my opponent in that last game showed us, sometimes you are just a sitting duck where you're just passing turn after turn, or maybe equipping weapons but not cheating out threats onto the board, and meanwhile your opponent builds up a board, goes face, wins the game. Against more aggressive opponents, so if you're going up against a pirate warrior in the current meta or some kind of mech buff paladin, you are probably going to be dead within the first 5 or 6 turns. So within that time frame you need to have cheated out at least one massive threat, preferably something with a taunt like the Lich King that can block the way. If you cannot do that, you are dead. And that is the only thing to note with this deck. It can just be way too slow. But when it works, when you get that sequence of plays going where you're able to cheat out those threats, this deck is the most wonderful thing in the world. So, thank you very much for joining me, everyone. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of you. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe, and I'll see you all again very soon for more Wild Mode fun.